Welcome to Nationwide. Well, it's been harvest time over the last couple of months, with harvesters out late into the night to squeeze every last minute from the day. But there's still lots to harvest by hand, and now Martin went down to Contrast Apple Farm in Tipperary to help out.
7:30 a.m. in the orchard, and the dew is still glistening on the trees. The annual apple harvest is underway.
So these are called Saval. It's a German apple to begin with. Cox's Orange Pippin is the mother variety of this apple, and the other one is Duchess of Oldenburg, which is a lesser known apple, you might say. So it is an unusual apple, but there's a handy bit of it grown in Ireland actually, and in the UK too.
While the regular picking crew gets started, Con gives me a quick lesson on the do's and don'ts of apple picking.
What I normally do is I start at the extremity of the tree rather than the middle of the tree, so the apples that are closest to me. I don't have a basket on, so I'll be putting them in your basket, but so I try to take them off in a way that, you know, I'm left with the stalk on the apple, and that I'm not damaging the apple. So I take it and I put it gently into the basket, pick another one gently into the basket, and then if I have a bunch of them like this, I try and put my hands around the bunch and take one or two off, just so that I'm not accidentally dropping any. My parents started the farm. They bought the farm here in 1967. It was actually an electrician who was living here, and he was emigrating to Canada, and they came from the Netherlands, and they were looking for a farm, and this one happened to come up, and they bought it. And they started by planting just a few acres on one side of the farm and doing loads of other crops, you know, everything from bulbs, you know, to soft fruit, to apples and so on. And over the years we kind of increased the amount of apples to what it is now, maybe about 40 acres. So I was born here. I kind of have been at it since I was small, you could say, really. But officially I started farming here probably in about 1993 or 4 or thereabouts, yeah.
The apples are hand harvested to ensure that they're handled gently and don't get bruised.
They're trying really hard in the States to develop machinery for you know, robots for doing it. But they've been at that a long time without a lot of success.
So any bad ones thrown down?
Bad ones on the ground, exactly. We can get them later when we're picking up the windfalls.
Badly bruised?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That one can be dropped as well. Yeah.
But they won't go to waste?
No, they won't go to waste. They'll be picked up and at that stage used for vinegar more than likely. Yeah.
No sudden movement.
No sudden movements. We don't want to frighten them. Yeah. So you hold that filler. You take that up. The elastic. Let go of the elastic. That's right. And then leave the apples down through the chute. Bend down a little bit, and they'll come out. And then you kind of pull up as carefully as you can. Well, at the start like this, there's always a little bit of rattling and that. But as we get fuller, they're perfect.
So you want the least amount of movement.
Yeah. Exactly. So because we're trying to get non-bruised apples eventually to the customer, I suppose. Yeah.
Just like, and then this chunk.
That will go back around and it holds it again. Yeah, exactly.
Like this?
Yeah, anything like that is perfect. It's spot on.
Ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
There's a constant chatter in the orchard as the crew work their way down the rows.
There's Roberto, who just arrived from Italy there a couple of weeks ago. So he just happened to drop me an email. I don't know how he got my email address, and he was looking to come back to Ireland. He'd spent time here before a number of years ago, and he was looking to come back and do a bit of work. And I said, okay, fine, come on. So there's Bogdan, who's been here many years now, and Joseph, who's been here even longer. So Joseph is up there at the back. Bogdan's originally from Poland, and Joseph is originally from Czech Republic.
Tell me about these apples then. It didn't take us too long to collect these.
No, I suppose they have decent size. And trees are small. It's easy to walk between the trees as well. Sometimes when we are picking, big trees like that, you have to reach inside, climb under. so get under on your knees maybe even, you know, it's like slower than that. Decent size, plenty of them, easy to pick.
What's this? Oh, look, we've an earwig.
Yeah.
You don't see them much anymore.
No, except that we have lots of them here. Earwigs are beneficial predators for us here, so they feed on the eggs of aphids. So as long as we have lots of those here, we probably have 10 or 20 on every tree. So you could, you know, somewhere maybe on the farm between 500,000 and 1,000,000 earwigs. We are delighted to see them in the orchard. It's really fantastic. Otherwise, we might have to spray for aphids, you know.
How do you deal with spraying, and are you using less spray than you used to?
Yeah, I suppose what kind of happened in maybe in the 1980s or thereabouts, a lot of the chemicals stopped being effective and new pests came along that were resistant to the chemicals, and that was because people had been overusing them. So I suppose people learned slowly, but did learn that they needed to rely more on nature for you know what I mean, having a balance in the ecology of the orchard, and not just in orchards, but in other types of farming as well.
The apples we pick today will be sold at the farm shop. Misshapen ones or windfalls will go for juicing, so there's no waste when it comes to apples.
The apples are very versatile, you know, they're used for slicing, for puree, for juice, for cider, for vinegar. There are an awful lot of alternative uses, and you know, there'd be no point using good apples for those either.
So bulky ones still get used?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Even the windfalls get picked up and probably used for vinegar usually, yeah.
Supermarkets are beginning to support the homegrown apple industry, and this year turnover at the Trass farm will be over €1 million for the first time.
Last few years there's been much more demand for Irish apples, probably starting from the consumer and then obviously feeding through the retailer back to the growers. But the difficulty is to fulfill that demand, you know, we'd have to order trees. They'll take a few years to come, then we've got to plant them, they'll take a few years to start producing. So if I decide now to have 10 tons or 100 extra tons for a supermarket, it's 10 years before I have them, you know what I mean? So and that makes growers in general reluctant, because there might be demand for Irish apples now. They plant it based on that demand, but they don't know that it'll still be there in 10 years' time when they'll need it. So you know, it's I suppose it's almost like a leap of faith to decide to grow apples.
Harvest time can be hard work, but when you've good weather, a nice crew and a beautiful crop, well, it doesn't get much better than this.
Blessed with the weather they were.